The story begins when one day a boy is reborn into another world. There are many different things in this Asfiel world. There are flying dragons, brave adventurers, and magic like in a fairy tale world, just as he had imagined since childhood. In this dream world, he begins his second life. However, the people in this world do not know about bathing. The food in this world is still brittle bread and tough meat, and also toilets in this world only rely on slimes. This is more difficult than he imagined. At night, he creates a crystal that emits light, and it is known that electricity does not exist in this world. This is like in a civilization equivalent to the Middle Ages. When he lies down on the bed and closes his eyes, he thinks that he once lived in a comfortable world. He then opens his eyes, and he hopes to be able to go to any world freely. Suddenly, something appears, which surprises him, and that is a gate. He asks what this is. He is told that Moon Gate, dimensional travel, it is an ability that he possesses. With this ability, he can wander in different worlds, like in the dinosaur world, in the science fiction world, and many more worlds that he can explore. And then one day he arrives at, it appears that the scenery is like a village in Japan, and there is also a sign written in Japanese. He who sees it is surprised and wonders if this place is Japan. Because it has been 10 years, he thought he would not return. Someone then calls him. An old man there asks what brings this boy here because the old man has never seen him before. The old man says that if he wants lunch, and he invites the boy to eat together. After waiting for the meal, the old man asks if he is all right. He says that it has been quite a long time since he last ate soba. The old man also says that his Japanese is good for an outsider. When he looks at the mirror window there, he just realized that his hair is blonde with green eyes, and feels strange that they can communicate, and he wonders if it's because of a skill. Because of that, he starts traveling between other worlds and Japan, and he begins to realize it. Living beings other than himself cannot pass through the gate. Everything except living beings can cross worlds. He thinks maybe this power will be beneficial depending on how it's used. And living in Asfiel cannot be said to be comfortable. At least he wants to go to the public bath, but he has no money. Somehow he has to make money with this power. He then realizes something. The value of goods is very different in Asfiel and Japan. In Japan, a bar of gold can build a large house, while in Asfiel, it's only a month's salary. And conversely, in Asfiel, spices and sweets are very expensive. A luxurious cake alone is enough to build a house. In other words, if he sells goods from Japan to another world, he could become a millionaire. Someone then says thank you for everything. He answers no, it's okay. An old woman there says that their village only has old people, and the boy has helped a lot. The old woman gives him a wage. He says thank you and says that he can buy many snacks. The old woman asks if he likes snacks, which the boy answers that he likes snacks. He then says goodbye and thinks that he cannot explain that his snacks will be sold in another world. And with a happy expression on his face, he departs back to another world. A merchant named Albert asks Alan where he got this food. The boy's name turns out to be Alan, and Alan asks Albert if this food can be sold to nobles. Albert says that this chocolate will definitely be sold to nobles and many will like it. He says he doesn't have contacts, and it could be through someone he knows. Albert says that if suddenly sold to nobles, Alan will be noticed by people, and that will make the merchants not stand idle. In aristocratic society, sweets are like diplomatic tools to show their wealth, so generally they employ merchants to manage farmers and sweet makers, and that's what happens if breaking those unwritten rules. Alan says that Albert's shop is just a small shop and he has no choice, which makes Albert feel annoyed. And Albert says that Alan is right. Small merchants like himself cannot fight people who deal with nobles. Alan then apologizes and he will look for another place, and Albert supports that. Alan then shows something other than sweets to Albert. He judges Albert's opinion as someone who is older. Two mothers there see Alan and Albert and say long time no see. Alan asks if they are shopping, and the mothers say yes, by chance they can meet. They ask what this is, which Alan answers that this is an exotic snack that he happened to get. They ask if Alan wants to start a trading business, which Alan answers is impossible and he is just a little interested. Albert says, how about if the two of them try it? Alan asks if it's okay. It's like giving an opportunity to Albert's competitors, which Albert answers is no problem. Alan knows that that's the reason Albert's shop doesn't grow. Albert says thank you, but that's not Alan's business. The two of them then say itadakimasu. After they eat the exotic snack, they say that this is very delicious and they may buy it. Alan then says thank you. They will then tell the other mothers, which Alan answers yes, and they will support Alan. Alan then apologizes to Albert, and Albert says to do it elsewhere next time. Alan is surprised that the snacks he has are sold out. And this is all thanks to the friends of those mothers. Alan says that this is chocolate. He has become a millionaire, and Albert says not to underestimate business. Alan says thank you for today, and the remaining chocolate is a thank you gift for Albert. Albert then sighs, and he thinks maybe Alan is good at that. Upon arriving in Japan at the public bath, he ponders because without a family card, he cannot rent a house and get a permanent job, he becomes poor, and he has not soaked for a long time. With his confidence, Alan thinks maybe there will be hope in the future. He will not get rich overnight just by selling sweets. He learns that goods from Japan can be used in other worlds. Alan thinks for now what else to sell, and it seems there are many rules among merchants. And there is still a lot that Alan has to think about. Upon his arrival at the bar, he is drinking there, and the taste of the drink is the best. After bathing and drinking a little in another world, Alan feels that this is luxury. Suddenly the doorbell rings, which makes everyone start paying attention when that customer enters the bar. Alan, who realizes that this place has become quiet, a girl with long black hair comes into the bar with other girls behind her. Alan hears that it is the Black Princess and they do not expect her. She is in this city. Alan realizes that it is a person sent from Japan. He is told that there are several special people like Alan in this world. At least in this city, there are two people. Those who are born with previous memories are called reincarnator. Those who are teleported to this world are called transfers. People who reincarnate and are transferred often have physical and magical abilities superior to the inhabitants of Asfial. They also can get powerful blessings. As a result, they often become adventurers or wizards who focus on research. This is the first time Alan has seen it directly. He hears that the rumor is she is a very beautiful girl. An unusual adventure party consisting only of women, and she is the leader of the Dawn Moon Brigade. Not only striking, she is very talented and has defeated many strong monsters. Hearing that they gain the trust of nobles and merchants, Alan will then pay the bill at that bar, and the bar owner becomes confused because it's unusual to see Alan only drink once. Alan answers that there are some tasks that need to be done. Alan then goes to Japan, and at a store, he asks if this manga is popular at the moment, which is answered by the store clerk that this is the most popular manga in the weekly Shonen Champ. Alan says thank you, and he doesn't know what is trending lately, which is answered by the store clerk, no problem. He also likes manga, and is happy if there are customers who are also interested. The store clerk asks that this is a women's fashion magazine, which Alan answers that he was asked by his friend. Alan will then pay for it, and he asks the store clerk to wrap everything. The store clerk thanks him for the visit, and Alan thinks that he has lied, that this was requested. Alan thinks it would be dangerous if directly contacting the Black Princess there. Unlike himself, she was summoned to another world. There isn't much entertainment in Asfial, so he hopes his prediction is correct. He thinks that this is his biggest expenditure, and he will rely on that package. It appears that the restaurant has been booked for today. Alan, who sees it, feels that he cannot do anything. He hears that she is in this restaurant, and even the curtains are tightly closed. Alan thinks that the opportunity is only today. He wonders if just wait until she comes out, but Alan thinks maybe later it will become suspicious. A girl then comes and calls Alan. The girl asks what he is doing there. Alan, who sees that girl, then gets an idea. He says that there is something he wants to give to Miss Black Princess, which makes the girl confused and asks for the leader. Alan then hands over the package and says that this is free, and if Miss Black Princess doesn't like it, then the package can just be thrown away. Alan then quickly leaves the place. This makes the girl feel worried and wonder who that guy is. The girl then enters the restaurant. Another girl welcomes Aina's arrival and asks what package that is. Aina answers that there was a strange person in front who handed it for the leader. The girl asks Aina to hand over the package to her. Aina asks Kalkira what about the package, which is answered by Kalkira that this is safe. This package is neither poison nor dangerous magic tools and asks if it should just be given to the leader. Aina then understands because Kalkira says so. Aina then comes to approach the leader to hand over the package, which makes the leader ask what this is. Aina says that this package is said to be for the leader. The leader asks if she can open it, which is answered by Aina, no problem, and that guy said to throw it away if she doesn't like it. After the leader opens the object, Aina, who sees the object, wonders what this book is. She thinks that this book looks rare, but what for the leader? The leader then stands up and looks at Aina, which makes Aina confused. The leader who looks at Aina there, she asks Aina to tell her who has given Aina this package. It appears that there is someone running, which turns out to be a girl, and that girl is called the Miko, and they who chase her to immediately catch that girl. The girl wonders what is actually happening and where she is. When at school, she was waiting for an early pickup, but suddenly her vision blurred, and she unknowingly becomes surprised because she sees that she will fall into a big hole there. She thinks that she will die, and she apologizes to her father. After some time passes, the girl then wakes up. A married couple there feel grateful to see the girl is already awake and ask if she is okay. The girl becomes surprised and asks who. The woman says sorry for making her scared. They are a couple who manage this inn, and the couple says that they found a girl lying under the cliff. The girl then remembers that she fell off the cliff at that time. Because the couple has helped her, she says thank you very much, and the woman says it's not a big problem. The woman doesn't know how she could survive, as expected from Miko-sama. The girl becomes confused about Miko. She asks what Miko means. She is told that Miko is a messenger of God from another world, and black hair is the proof. It is said that she has some kind of special power, but the girl apparently hasn't realized it yet. The girl says that she doesn't know about that, and this is very sudden. She is then served a cup of warm tea by the woman. The woman says to rest first and can think about it later. The girl then accepts it and says thank you. After staying at the inn, she says thank you for everything. The couple tells the girl to take care of herself well, and the girl hopes that the two of them stay healthy. And she begins her journey to find a way home. Thanks to the Miko's power, she doesn't have difficulty despite being alone. Because of that rumor, people gather. As time goes by, the Dawn Moon Brigade becomes famous throughout the country. Come to think of it, she is blessed with good people. They don't ask about her purpose, they just follow the Miko. She thinks if one day she can tell the truth to all of them. At a bar, the doorbell is heard ringing, indicating a customer is coming. The bar owner welcomes her. The customer asks Alan if he is the one who sent this letter. The customer turns out to be the Miko, and Alan asks the bar owner to give her a drink. And Alan asks the bar owner to lock the door, and he says thank you. The atmosphere becomes silent for a moment, but Alan says sorry, and maybe she doesn't like being alone with him. He asks that she consider the conversation between fellow countrymen. She who hears it just remains silent. She asks if Alan is Japanese, which is answered by Alan that he reincarnated, so his appearance is like this. Alan asks what is your name, which is answered by the girl that she is named Shizuku Sayoji. She is 18 years old. And Alan introduces his name as Alan. He is unemployed and 20 years old. Shizuku says no, she wants to know Alan's real name. Alan then sighs. He tells that his name is Masato Shinjo. He is an ordinary man who died at the age of 25. Shizuku then apologizes for asking unnecessary things, which is answered by Alan, it's okay. Shizuku says that Alan is not surprised by the name Sayoji. She assumes is it possible that Alan is from a different time. Alan, who hears that, is surprised and asks if she is famous and assumes is she an idol, and Shizuku says that Alan really doesn't know. Alan says that indeed times have changed, and it has been 20 years since he died. Maybe because the place is different like the Showa era, so it doesn't feel so much. This makes Shizuku surprised when hearing it. She asks if Alan can go to Japan, which is answered by Alan that he cannot bring other people to Japan. Alan explains that no living beings can cross the gate and apologizes for giving Shizuku hope. However, they can do other things. Alan can buy goods and bring them if needed. That's not a bad thing, and Shizuku can only remain silent when hearing it. Alan then is surprised to see the glass that Shizuku has is empty. He asks if she wants to drink something. Shizuku says that the owner is not here. Alan then shows a bottle of drink, and they can drink this if Shizuku wants. He then pours the tea drink into Shizuku's glass, and Shizuku says thank you. Shizuku then drinks the tea, and Alan asks how it is. Shizuku says that this is quite different from homemade tea, the taste, the aroma, everything. And Shizuku, with a very calm facial expression, says that this is delicious. Alan, who sees Shizuku's face, then thinks that he forgets because Shizuku is strong, but she is still at the age of a school child. Shizuku says that she ends up showing her embarrassing side, which is answered by Alan not really. Alan says that he also cried when eating soba for the first time, and he can provide soba noodles if Shizuku wants. Shizuku says that she only wants a clue to go home to Japan, but this is also a happy thing for her. Shizuku then puts down her glass. She will be Alan's sponsor, and in return, Alan must prepare the goods that Shizuku asks for, which Alan understands. But Alan tells her not to be excessive because he doesn't have a family card and income. This makes Shizuku say that she will send a letter, and Shizuku asks if Alan is good at arranging documents. On a bright morning, and at Shizuku's house, she apologizes for calling her colleagues this early because there is someone she wants to introduce. Shizuku then introduces Alan to them, and he is a new member today. Aina then is surprised and says that Alan is the weird person she met yesterday. Aina asks if the leader is serious, which is answered by Shizuku that Alan can be trusted. A girl then says that she respects the leader's choice, but Alan is a boy. Shizuku says that Alan will not fight. Alan can read, write, and count, so Alan only takes care of equipment, and Shizuku asks Aina to train Alan. This makes Aina surprised and scream after hearing it. When in the warehouse, Aina asks Alan how he attracts the leader's attention, and Aina has never seen the leader so excited like that. Alan says that this is equal to effort. He didn't expect to enter the brigade, but he never thought a boy could enter the Dawn Moon Brigade. After hearing that, Aina then says all right, and she also needs labor. She then gives the list to Alan. Alan, who receives the list, then looks at it. He wants to make sure something to Aina. He asks if all this time Aina has managed this alone, which is answered correctly by Aina. Alan, who is surprised there, thinks about it, while Aina says that there is no one else besides her and the leader who can write and count. Aina says that she will check the stock, and she tells Alan to go out to buy goods. Aina tells him to mention the brigade's name. Then, Alan will not be deceived by merchants, and that merchant will give a good price, which Alan understands. When Alan is about to leave the room, he tells Aina not to push herself. Aina only answers by waving her hand, indicating that it's not a problem for her. When Alan is walking in the middle of the city to buy goods, he didn't expect something like that would happen, and thinks that if he can be a merchant for the Dawn Moon Brigade, it might be able to make himself do business with nobles without doubt. Because the situation is already like this, Alan only needs results so that he is accepted as a member. Alan then hears someone calling his name. The two women come to Alan and ask if the rumor is true. Alan becomes confused about the rumor, which is answered by the woman that the rumor about Alan, who joins the Dawn Moon Brigade. Alan, who just this morning joined, doesn't believe that this information can spread so quickly. The woman asks, what is Alan's relationship with Kurohime-sama? And the other woman says that Alan is great to have a girlfriend and a job at once, but Alan says not so. Alan tells them that she likes the merchandise owned by Alan, and he is like a bonus. The woman says that yesterday's snacks were delicious, how the woman congratulates Alan on his debut as a merchant, and good luck. But Alan says that now he is just a buyer. The woman asks why not go to their shop. They can give Alan a cheap price, and Alan asks if it's allowed, which is answered by the woman, of course. Another merchant says, good luck, Alan-kun, which Alan answers, thank you. Feeling helped again by that woman again, and Alan is then called by several people. He is surprised because so many people will help Alan towards success. They have heard the rumor, and it's amazing. Asking if Alan lacks equipment, they will give free service, and they support Alan. After some time and getting the goods that Alan wants, Alan then goes home, and Aina says good job. She asks if everything has been bought. Alan, who is there, says that he will leave the bill here, which makes Aina wonder and ask why there. Aina will then check the bill. After Aina sees the bill, she asks how much this is, which makes Alan feel worried, and he asks back if it exceeds the budget. Aina says that this is the opposite. She says that this is 20% cheaper, and Ina asks if Alan is not cheating, which is answered by Alan that it's a misunderstanding. Alan explains that his acquaintances give discounts as help, and Ina can ask them directly. Ina, who hears that, then becomes calm. And Alan sighs because he sees Ina already understands. Ina then goes and says that she didn't mean that far, but all right. Ina says that she slightly acknowledges Alan. After taking care of things with Ina, Alan then goes to Japan using Moongate, dimensional travel, and he thinks that Japan is very calming. Alan, who is looking at something in his hand, he brings a letter from Shizuku, and he wonders if this can help. It appears that the letter is for Ryugen Sayoji, or Shizuku's father. After giving that letter to Shizuku's father, Alan then went to a certain place with his other colleagues. Alan then looked at the place where they would stay, which turned out to be the kingdom's capital city, looking quite magnificent there. Shizuku then praised her colleagues and said that starting today, they would be headquartered in Lineberg. She also informed them that the new team house was ready and told her colleagues to check their respective rooms, which was understood by Shizuku's colleagues. Whilst Alan was moving his belongings, Shizuku approached him and asked if Alan would go to Japan after his business was finished, which was answered, of course, by Alan, and he asked if there was anything Shizuku needed. Shizuku answered not really, and she said that Alan would know when he arrived, and she would leave that to Alan. But Shizuku then said that she wanted the sequel to Yume Koi. This made Alan understand that Shizuku liked that sequel. After Alan arrived in Japan, it appeared that there were so many officers there. This made Alan feel worried and wonder what commotion was happening here. He then met with Genji-san, an old man whom he first met when he was first able to come back to Japan. Alan then asked who those people were, which was answered by Genji-san that they were from the Sayoji group. Genji-san heard that they were looking for Alan and they had been here for a week. This confused Alan and wondered who Shizuku Sayoji really was. Alan then approached one of the Sayoji group's cars and wanted to ask something. It appeared that there was a woman who was in the car. She then asked, "Are you Alan?" The woman then told Alan to get into the car because it was so hot outside. After Alan entered the car, she said that it was quite difficult to find Alan and it caused her trouble for something. Alan, who heard it, then apologized, and the woman introduced herself as Kamaki Akira and told Alan to call her Akira. Alan then asked Akira if all this was because of the letter from Shizuku. Akira, who knew that Alan knew about Miss Shizuku, she then closed the car window, which surprised Alan. She then informed her colleagues that the target had been secured and asked for help to be sent immediately. Akira told Alan if he behaved well, then they would not do any harm to Alan. Akira then asked whether Alan wanted to go home with his body intact. This was then understood by Alan. On the journey, he asked what the Sayoji group was. Because Alan didn't know about it, he needed information. Akira then informed that the Sayoji group was a company that held the key in IT and real estate, also as a large company that was recognized in the country and also internationally, perhaps more easily referred to as a conglomerate. The Sayoji family was originally one of the richest families in Tokyo. Shizuku's father, who made the company as big as it is now, named Ryugen-sama, and the Kamaki family had served the Sayoji family for several generations. And for Akira herself, she had been with Miss Shizuku since she was in middle school. But 3 years ago, when she started working full-time at the main residence. When Akira received praise from Miss Shizuku about the tea she had made, Akira thanked Miss Shizuku and felt happy because it suited her taste. Shizuku then told Akira not to be so stiff when they were alone. She then asked if Akira recorded the Yume Koi anime, which was answered, of course, by Akira. Shizuku asked again if Akira would stay until midnight and invited her to watch it tonight. Akira then said, all right, if Miss Shizuku asked. However, when Akira was preparing tea for Shizuku's father, and she thought that Miss Shizuku should have been home, Shizuku's father then informed Akira that there was an emergency. He informed Akira that Miss Shizuku had disappeared, which made Akira immediately fall silent and shocked when she found out about it. The incident happened so suddenly. Akira then ran to a certain place whilst thinking that this was not possible. She assumed that there must be a mistake. Akira then asked to see the CCTV that monitored Miss Shizuku. It appeared that there was still Miss Shizuku who was standing waiting for a pickup. However, She then disappeared just like that without knowing the cause. This made Akira feel disbelieving that Miss Shizuku suddenly disappeared mysteriously. And the search for Miss Shizuku still continues until now. Specialist organizations have flown around the world. But there were no clues except Alan. Alan, who had known about it, didn't say a word. They then arrived at their destination, and Akira apologized to Alan for trying to deceive him. And for now, they would hear something from Alan. Alan then followed Akira and thought that he didn't know there was a building like this in the town next to Akane Village. Akira then brought Alan to Chairman Ryugen. After entering the room, it appeared that there was a man standing there, and he was Shizuku's father. Shizuku's father asked, "Are you Alan?" Which was answered yes by Alan. Shizuku's father then understood and said that Alan was as his daughter had written in the letter he had received. Shizuku's father then looked at Alan with a rather cold look. This made Alan feel worried. He felt that this was intimidation and wondered if everyone in big companies was like this. Shizuku's father then approached Alan and clapped his hands, which made Alan realize. Shizuku's father said not to be alert, and he knew that Alan was not a kidnapper. Shizuku's father then showed the letter and informed that this letter was written with a code that only the Sayoji family knew. So both the writer and its contents could not be falsified. This meant his daughter was still alive, and Alan was the person his daughter trusted. Alan then asked how Chairman Ryugen could find him, which was answered by Shizuku's father that they could check from the postmark and also Alan's appearance as written in the letter. Shizuku's father then turned around and said that he was truly surprised. He said that Alan might have heard from Akira that Shizuku disappeared 3 years ago. Although accompanied by dozens of guards, she disappeared mysteriously. And when Shizuku's father was about to give up, a letter written by his daughter arrived. And the message, "I have a colleague who needs help." Shizuku's father then asked what Alan knew. Alan asked back if this room was recorded or under surveillance, which was answered no by Shizuku's father. He informed that security was quite tight and the windows were also one-way glass. Alan said that it would be faster to see it directly. He then cast a spell. This made Akira and the other guard alert and ready to shoot. But Shizuku's father told Akira and his guard to lower their weapons. After Alan released something there, which made Akira surprised and confused when she saw it. Alan then informed that this gate was an ability that he possessed. He said to believe it or not, this gate was connected to another world, and Chairman Ryugen's daughter was behind this gate. Shizuku's father, who saw it, said that it was very surprising, and asked Alan what were the requirements of the gate, which was answered by Alan that he also didn't quite understand it. Basically, no living being other than himself could pass through. Shizuku's father asked if he could touch that gate, which was answered yes by Alan. He then touched that gate from various directions, which made Akira worried when she saw it. Shizuku's father wanted to say something. Was his daughter behind this gate, which was informed by Alan that there was a so-called fantasy world and Miss Shizuku led an adventurer team. When looking at the gate once more, Shizuku's father felt it was difficult to believe, but Alan showed something like this. Akira then asked Chairman Ryugen if he believed Alan's words, which was answered by Shizuku's father that he was also skeptical about a world that was like a fairy tale. Shizuku's father then requested something from Alan. He then gave a smartphone and told Alan to take a photo of Shizuku, and then he would cooperate according to the contents of the letter, which Alan understood. Alan then asked how to use it, which Akira would explain how to use it later. Shizuku's father then called Alan. He didn't know how real Alan's words were. Maybe there was a hidden motive or what. But the fact that the letter was genuine and Alan who sent it here. Shizuku's father then extended his hand while saying thank you and asked to please convey his regards to Shizuku. Alan then shook Chairman Ryugen's hand and said, "Yes, of course." When Shizuku was sitting at her desk whilst drinking tea, she knew that Alan had met her father. She didn't expect that her father would take the trouble to go to the village, and brought so many people to the village because she knew that she was his heir. Alan then informed that Chairman Ryugen gave an object called a smartphone. He asked Alan to get a photo of Shizuku. Alan then gave the smartphone to Shizuku. And when seeing Shizuku using the smartphone, Alan thought that Shizuku was skilled at using it. Alan then was surprised when he heard a statement from Shizuku's father through the smartphone about Shizuku still being alive. He then approached Shizuku and wondered if modern phones were that good. It appeared that Shizuku was watching a video of her father who was delivering a message for Shizuku. Shizuku, who saw her father in the video and heard his words, was moved. Alan then left and thought that it was not polite to peek. After finishing using the smartphone, Shizuku wondered where Alan was, and she wanted to return the phone. Shizuku then was surprised when she went downstairs to look for Alan. Alan said that they had all just gathered and asked Shizuku if the phone was good. This confused Shizuku, and Alan said that they would take a photo. Aina then held Shizuku's hand and immediately took her to take a photo together. After all the people there gathered, Alan then would take the photo, and Alan successfully took a photo of Shizuku with her colleagues. Time passed, and Alan was asked by Aina if he had gotten somewhat used to the brigade. Alan answered that he hadn't with the others. Aina said not to worry. Alan also had to get used to a new place. Aina then asked if Alan knew about the capital's street festival. She informed Alan that there would be a big market every week in the capital. Merchants from various countries would bring rare items. There were many stalls, ranging from those for commoners to nobles. All adventure activities were postponed. Aina asked how about taking a break for a while, and she thought that Alan was interested in such things. Alan then wanted to ask something to Aina. He asked if that meant anyone could open a stall. It appeared that Alan was pondering about something there. He had already gotten the form for a stall at the festival, but he wasn't sure what he would sell. A girl then came and said that she was home. The girl's name was Camille. She asked what Alan was doing. She was also accompanied by her 2 female colleagues behind, who were named Luca and Lazuli. Alan, who saw them, felt troubled, and he then wanted to leave them. Camille, who saw it, asked why run. Alan answered maybe they would be uncomfortable with him. Camille informed it was okay. No one felt that way. Alan felt that they didn't accept him because of previous things. Lazuli said sorry, and informed that previously no good men came here. Luca, who felt grateful because until now, she saw the chief always worrying about something, and the chief has been calm lately. Lazuli said that they welcomed anyone who contributed to the brigade, considering that Aina also praised Alan. Camille, with full enthusiasm, said that Alan was like a father, but according to Lazuli, Alan was like a little brother. Alan, who heard it, fell silent and thought that it didn't matter as long as they accepted Alan in the brigade. Luca then asked what Alan was doing, which was answered by Alan that he was filling out a form for a stall at the street festival. That was the plan to open a shop. Camille, who heard it, was surprised that Alan wanted to open a shop. Alan said that he just wanted to try. Camille said that it sounded fun. She asked Alan what he wanted to sell, and Alan answered that he was still thinking about it. Alan said that at that time he had planned to sell sweets for nobles, but he thought it couldn't be accepted because they couldn't buy something expensive. Luca, who heard it, thought that it seemed difficult, and Lazuli, who was thinking about something that nobles wanted, as well as Camille. Lazuli then remembered one thing. She then went to take something from the bookshelf. Lazuli, who was already holding the book, asked how about this book? Camille, who saw that it was a book recommended by the chief, which Luca answered that it was very interesting. Seeing Camille, Luca, and Lazuli were excitedly discussing the book there, which made Alan wonder how they could read Japanese. Alan said that entertainment items were good too, but books might be difficult to sell. They then felt disappointed after Alan said that, but they felt happy again after Alan said that he would stock a little bit about that book. This made them promise and would definitely come there. Upon arriving in Japan, Alan went to meet Chairman Ryugen. He took the lift to reach the 50th floor. Alan felt worried because he had given the smartphone to Chairman Ryugen, would believe it or not. He was welcomed by Akira and said that they had been waiting. Akira said that she would be Alan's personal assistant, and she thanked him for his cooperation. This made Alan silent when he found out, and Akira wanted to explain something to Alan. But the lift then closed automatically, which surprised Akira. After arriving in one of the rooms to rest, Akira wanted to inform that she was very surprised. Alan asked if she could be straightforward like yesterday, which Akira answered she couldn't. Alan said that he was quite relieved, because from Akira's face, he was sure that Chairman Ryugen believed in him, which was informed by Akira that Chairman Ryugen was very happy. Besides photos, the ore that shone when hit, Shockstone contained unidentified substances, and there was no reason to doubt Alan. Akira then would show a support that was promised, and she would explain it in sequence. The first thing for Alan's identity, these were documents related to the family card. Use this room as a residence, computer and daily necessities were available. Just call the servant for meals. And this was a black card. The credit was unlimited, so don't worry. And this was Alan's bank account. Alan, who saw the balance amount, was surprised. This made Akira confused seeing Alan's reaction. Alan, who felt dizzy, said that he was very grateful, but this was excessive. Akira said that there were two conditions for that. The first thing was cooperation in gate research. They wanted to know about Alan's powers and the other world. The second and most important, Alan had to fully support Miss Shizuku, and this certainly they expected Alan's cooperation. Alan then understood and he promised. Akira then smiled after hearing that answer. Akira said that from now on she would help Alan and tell her if there was a need. Alan then remembered one thing. He said that there was a small request. After hearing it, Akira then understood that Alan wanted entertainment items. Alan said that he could choose them himself, but he didn't know Japan now. Akira then asked why Alan wanted to open a shop, which was answered by Alan that he needed connections. Different from when in his hometown, he was helped by many acquaintances. But this was the first time in the kingdom's capital. If successful in winning the hearts of nobles, finances would be stable. With connections and information, he could help the brigade. Akira then said that they could provide as much funds as Alan wanted. But Alan said that his dream was indeed to be rich, but he wanted it with his own efforts. Akira then said that she didn't expect Alan was far more diligent, and that made her relieved. She then asked what Alan wanted to buy. Alan then pointed to a card game there. He said that in Asfial, many needed entertainment. Board and card games were popular among nobles. Simply put, trading cards might attract attention, but only he didn't know which one was good because he had never seen it before. Akira then said that the Sayoji group was involved in various businesses. Entertainment business was no exception. They had a subsidiary that engaged in trading cards. Akira then called someone to send crossworlds as much as one warehouse now. This surprised Alan. Akira asked if that was all Alan needed, which was answered yes by Alan, and this was just for a trial. Alan then thanked Akira. Thanks to her, he was helped, which was answered by Akira. It's okay. Alan planned to look for food and buy books, so he could go alone and Akira must be busy, which Akira answered couldn't. She said that if something happened to Alan, Miss Shizuku would surely be sad, and Alan thought that Akira was very kind. He then understood and would be with Akira to look for food and buy books. After arriving at the DVD and CD center, he saw an LCD TV there. This made Alan surprised to see it and said that this was amazing. Akira asked what, which was answered by Alan that video cassettes had now become CDs. Even TVs had become thin. Alan, who was pondering there, thought that unlike in Akane village, time had really changed. He then was surprised when he saw that, thinking that maybe that was what Shizuku and her colleagues wanted. Alan said that Yume Koi that Shizuku liked was really popular. Seeing Akira, who was silent there, Alan then called her. Akira said that she felt nostalgic. Previously, Miss Shizuku invited her to watch, but it never happened. Alan then apologized, but Akira said that she didn't mean it that way. She said that she couldn't meet Miss Shizuku. And serving her wasn't everything. Alan, who heard it, just fell silent. After getting the items that Alan wanted, Akira then would pay for them and ask for help to give them to Miss Shizuku, which was understood by Alan. She thought it would be easier if storing all manga and dramas in one tablet, because entertainment was little, better add more. Alan, who saw Akira there, he thought that Akira was like Shizuku's older sister. After Alan arrived in Asfiel, Lazuli called Alan and informed that the stall permit had arrived. Alan said that he would go there. Lazuli then handed over the permit document. Alan thanked and felt happy everything was going smoothly. Lazuli then whispered something to Alan about that, which was answered sorry by Alan that it would just be delivered that day because there was no room to store here. This made Lazuli feel upset and said something there, and Alan, who saw it, thought that Lazuli really wanted the sequel to Yume Koi. Alan asked what time Luca and the others would come, which was answered by Lazuli. She said later tonight she would come with Camille. Lazuli asked where the shop was, which was answered by Alan that his shop was at number 13, West Street. He also said that many people in the Western District had long been merchants in the capital. Moreover, the place was next to the Central District, and asked why choose that place. And there were also rumors about that place. The Central District, which was separated from other districts by walls, there were some upper-class nobles who lived there. Of course, they as ordinary people would never see it. But some people were curious about the festival and quietly came. That might happen if close to the Central District. If that rumor was true, then there would definitely be a big problem. Alan, who heard it, just smiled at Lazuli. Lazuli, who saw it, then felt worried and asked, could it be that was Alan's purpose? Which Alan answered no. Lazuli then laughed, and Alan asked why. Lazuli, while smiling sweetly, said no. Besides, this was interesting. Alan, who didn't understand, then asked what she meant, which Lazuli answered that this was a compliment. Lazuli then left, while saying that in essence she couldn't wait. Alan, who heard it, thought that he felt that was unsettling. Whilst looking at the permit document that Lazuli had given to him, Alan thought that he would wait for that day to come, and the rest was up to how it would turn out. In the midst of the hustle and bustle of the Capitol Street Festival, seeing several stalls there that sell high-quality goods. After setting up his own stall, Alan felt excited because the festival finally started. Alan had prepared his merchandise. His main product was chocolate. He also brought some books for certain people and trading cards as an experiment. Even so, Alan then looked to the side. He saw there were several people who looked like nobles and heard the festival would really start in the afternoon. But that morning, it was already crowded with upper-class people. He saw the shops around him were high class, but felt the quality of their products must be the same. He was determined to take advantage of this opportunity. However, from morning until noon, not a single person came to his stall. He thought there were buyers at other stalls, but his stall seemed to be avoided. When Alan pondered whether his products were unusual or he had no talent for trading, Alan was then surprised. Albert suddenly appeared and greeted him. Albert explained that he was in the capital for a business meeting and took the opportunity to look around the festival. He didn't expect Alan to become a merchant, and he was happy that everything was going smoothly. Alan asked for advice because no buyers came. Albert then thought about this. He explained that it was difficult to sell something foreign, especially food, because people might not eat it right away even after tasting it. Albert suggested it would be wiser to open a shop in the middle-class area at next week's festival. Hearing that made Alan feel dejected and said that he had to learn a lot. Albert said that the afternoon hours were just starting. Alan could give up after the hours ended. He also reminded that the two most important things in business were product quality and trust, and he was sure Alan had both. But Albert wasn't sure if from a small merchant, and Alan said that he didn't say Albert's shop was small. Albert then said that he would go home, and Alan thanked him very much. Before leaving, Albert wanted to say something. He said that Alan might find something else besides his original purpose at this festival. After that, several people came to Alan's stall, but their response was not good. Towards evening, when Alan was about to close his shop after Luca and the others arrived, he thought about his goal and his dream of wanting to live rich with his own business. He saw someone he recognized as that person. That person then came. That person was the eldest son of Marquis Castiano. He was escorted with several armored soldiers. Alan, who saw him, thought that that person was not like an ordinary person. He wondered why a high noble was there. Alan prepared as the young nobleman approached, thinking that the rumor about nobles secretly coming to the festival might be true. The nobleman, who was called Ray, asked what kind of stall it was. Alan explained that he sold sweets and rare toys, then offered chocolate to try. Ray's guard tried to prevent him from eating food from an ordinary stall, but Ray ignored him. This made Alan feel guilty. Ray asked for further explanation about the sweets. Alan explained that chocolate was made from cocoa powder, sugar, and vanilla, and would melt if held directly. Ray then ate it. He was then surprised by the chocolate's aroma. After a while, Ray then wanted to say something to Alan. Ray stated that he really liked it. Ray's guard said it was impolite to talk while eating. Alan felt happy because Ray liked it, and Ray then asked about the price. Alan told him the promotional price was 30,000 gold for one box of 8. Ray considered that price very cheap and decided to buy all the chocolate available. This made Alan silent and feel disbelief about this. Ray paid more and considered it as extra because he had been made fascinated. He then asked about other products that Alan had, like Competo and caramel. Ray decided to buy all types of sugar candy that Alan had. After paying for everything, Alan was surprised to see that Ray had spent 1 million gold. Ray then looked over there. He asked about the papers that were there. Alan explained that those were trading cards, a card game that contained 5 random cards per pack. Ray decided to buy all of them too. Alan could only thank Ray, who was fascinated by the beauty of the pictures on the cards. Ray's guards who saw it were also fascinated and thought that they could also buy them. It was visible that the goods in his stall had sold out. Alan thanked him for today, and Ray also thanked him, because thanks to Alan, his time became valuable. Ray then asked, "What's your name?" which was answered, "I'm Alan." Before leaving, Ray gave Alan a medal as a token of gratitude and hoped they could meet again. Alan was impressed by that nobleman's wealth. Alan then looked at it. He wondered what medal this was. Right after Ray left, Camille and Lazuli came. They were surprised to see all the goods had sold out, not expecting this to happen. They were disappointed because they wanted to buy the Yume Koi book. Alan then showed that he still kept 1 volume of Yume Koi Volume 3 for them. This made them feel happy after hearing that. Alan, who saw it, also felt happy. Camille invited them to read it together at home and invited the president too. Alan thought maybe this was the other purpose that Albert meant. That night, Alan was seen writing something there. Shizuku found Alan still working there. Alan didn't expect Shizuku to come approach him. He said that he was recording his earnings and asked wasn't Shizuku reading Yume Koi together, which Shizuku answered that she wanted to drink water. Shizuku asked if there were any problems at the festival. Alan answered there were no problems, but many things happened. He then fell silent for a moment and said that he felt something was strange. Alan explained that he started trading so he could get rich for himself, not for other people. However, because many people thanked him, he felt uncomfortable. Shizuku then approached Alan. She gave him something as a token of her gratitude. This made Alan surprised and asked if she heard his previous words. Alan then opened the box and saw that it was a necklace. He then lifted the necklace up. Alan, who saw it, was fascinated. The necklace had a rare rainbow-colored gem that was usually used as a magic medium. Shizuku said that thanks to Alan, she could talk to her family and Akira again, so she didn't care whatever Alan's motives were. Alan laughed hearing that and said that Shizuku's father said something similar. Shizuku then called Alan. She asked Alan to take care of father and Akira from now on. Alan said that he would do what he could and thanked her while saying he would treasure this gift. On the other side, in a palace, someone was seen walking there. She asked Ray if he went out of town secretly again. Ray asked that person not to say that because this time he brought chocolate gifts. After giving the chocolate gift, he then left while saying, "See you tomorrow." The person who received the chocolate gift from Ray was a girl. A medal was seen being thrown into the air. Alan, who was sitting on a park bench while observing the medal he got from the festival, someone said, "Isn't that a Promika medal?" At that time, Camille greeted Alan cheerfully. She asked Alan to show the medal, but Alan asked, "How was the practice?" which was answered by Camille that it was break time now. Alan then asked Camille if she knew about the medal. Seeing the medal, Camille was very enthusiastic. She asked if Alan didn't know about this medal. Suddenly, someone called them from behind, which turned out to be Luca inviting them to have tea together. Camille felt happy and said that she would go there, while Alan thought that he hadn't asked about his medal yet. In the front yard, Luca served cat-shaped cakes, which were gifts from Alan. Alan said that he requested them at the Capital Street Festival. Camille asked, "What kind of animal is this?" which Alan answered that it was a cat. All 3 of them really liked it and said, "It's too cute to eat." Alan, who was drinking tea there, felt he shouldn't be here. Luca then asked Alan how his festival went. She heard that Alan was a big success. Alan answered that his festival was a big success, but only because there was one buyer. He also added that that person was the one who gave him the medal. Camille, who heard it, felt disbelief and said that it was impossible. But Lazuli said that she wanted to see it. When Alan showed both the gold and silver medals, the girls said that those were gold and silver Promika medals. Alan asked, "So what is a Promika medal?" Luca said that it functioned as permission to enter restricted areas. They also have them for dungeons. Camille explained that Promika medals were items that were difficult to obtain and could not be owned unless recognized by the guild. She also said that silver Promika medals could be used to enter the school district in the capital. However, someone could only enter schools that had emblems matching their medals. She said that Alan could freely go to the school district in the capital, including in Finfiv Magic Academy. Camille thought the gold came from the central district, and Luca asked, why not ask the school? Alan realized that the fact that Ray gave him the medal meant an invitation to come there. Alan looked stressed because he had to meet directly with the eldest son of the Marquis. Luca asked if Alan could bring Camille because they were from the same graduate. Camille, who felt indebted to Alan because of the Yume Koi book, gladly offered to be his guide. Alan felt helped and thanked her. They went to the school district, which was the largest district in the capital and contained government research facilities. Alan felt happy because she came along because he didn't know anything. Realizing about the souvenirs he was carrying, Alan had to hurry. Camille then pointed to a checkpoint there. They then queued up. Alan showed his medal to the checkpoint officer. After passing the checkpoint, Camille felt nostalgic about this place, and she felt happy, seeing the magnificent buildings there. Alan contemplated as if he came to a different world. He asked what building was that. Camille said that it was the cathedral building of Sandrick Religious School. It was the only religion-based school in the capital. Alan asked what was studied at religious school. Camille said that besides doctrine, maybe also holy magic medicine and healing magic. Especially for healing magic, special training was needed. She explained that their vice president, Nana, came from that school. She had a great reputation because she could use healing magic and holy magic. There were rumors that she was more famous than the president. Alan remembered that he had never talked to the vice president. Camille said what could be done since they were both busy. Lafine didn't like men, so the current distance was good enough because she wasn't serious, so it didn't matter. Alan then asked where Camille went to school. Camille answered that she went to school at Ryosar Magic Academy, a low-level school for ordinary people. She explained the hierarchy system in the kingdom based on magical power, where nobles went to school at high-level magic schools like Enfiv. Alan concluded that it was like magic supremacy. Perfect the bloodline of wizards to give birth to greater magical talents. That's how the Cainlease kingdom developed. Alan said that it felt unreal, and Camille said that this story had nothing to do with the people. Camille then said that it was already visible. That was N5 Magic Academy. Alan, who saw it, was like a castle. Upon arriving at N5 Magic Academy, Alan said that he had a Promika medal and asked if his friend could enter. A guard asked Alan to extend his hand. He put a bracelet on Alan's wrist and explained that it was a magic tool for security. Camille said that if you did bad things, the guards would come. Inside, Camille felt amazed seeing that this was extraordinary and really different from Ryosar. Camille pointed to the Lion Dormitory, which was famous as the residence of the royal family. She asked who they would meet. Alan answered that they would meet Ray Castellano. Hearing that made Camille fall silent. She asked, "Could you say it again?" Alan said that that person was Ray Castellano, the eldest son of Marquis Castellano. Hearing the full name of the Marquis's eldest son, Camille immediately panicked and tried to run away. But Alan caught Camille's hand. She didn't expect Alan to have a relationship with a great noble. Camille explained that Castellano was one of the 3 great magic nobles. If an ordinary wizard met him, then that person would be finished because of insults to the noble. She shouted, "I was deceived! I won't go!" Alan managed to calm her down. Camille said besides the Lion Dormitory for the royal family, there were 3 other dormitories inhabited by great noble families. Because this was the Castellano family, they should go to the Great Eagle Dormitory. Camille asked if she could go home. Alan said that Camille didn't have Promika, so she would be arrested. Camille said meeting the heir of the Marquis family was impossible. At least a knight or a fallen poor baron family made more sense. Alan, in his heart, wanted to apologize to Camille. Upon arriving at the destination, a servant was already waiting and invited them in. He said that Rei-sama would return soon and told them to wait in this room. In the room, Camille looked very pale and nervous there. They then fell silent. But Camille, who looked like she couldn't stand it anymore, she said that she was fine, only her soul felt like it was about to come out. Suddenly, the sound of a door opening was heard. They then stood up. Rei Castellano appeared and greeted them warmly. "It's been a long time since yesterday's festival." Alan thanked him for his invitation. Rei said it was okay. He was the one who called Alan too. Alan then looked. He saw a girl who was walking in front of him. He asked who was the person there. Rei answered that she was his friend, maybe? Hearing that made Alan feel worried. The girl who looked at Alan with a cold stare. Alan wondered if he did something, because only he was stared at sharply. He wanted to ask Camille for help, but felt it was impossible. Alan then gave a package to Rei. He said that this was a special sweet that they prepared for this meeting. Because of storage reasons, it was usually not available in stores. Rei then clapped his hands, and a servant then came. The servant then prepared a tea service very quickly. The servant asked if the sweets needed to be cut, which Alan answered no, because the sweets were already divided, so just eat them directly. After the fruit tart was served, Alan thought that the fruit tart was indeed extraordinary, and he was happy to see Rei happy. Thinking about giving it to that girl seemed impossible. Because it tasted good when cold, so they ate first before talking. Camille, who looked like she wasn't doing anything there. Rei then remembered something. He introduced himself as Rei Castellano, a first-year middle school student at this school. Alan felt happy hearing praise from Rei. All the preparations he had made became meaningful. And the person sitting next to him as his cousin, she introduced herself as Chris Eraser. Rei asked what was wrong with Chris. Usually Chris was cool, but not this bad. Alan, who saw it, felt impressed because Rei dared to talk like that to the heir of the Marquis family. Rei said not to lie to Chris because she still had another name. This made Alan confused. He explained that nobles had two names, personal name and family name, while ordinary people only had one. He said that Chris still had one more name. Rei, who revealed his cousin's full name, Chris Eraser Canelease, a princess from the royal family.